heroes. You have to hear their story. This is Pastor Doug and Sister Vicki. Would you introduce yourself to our class?
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Good.
I'm Sister Vicki.
I'm Pastor Doug.
Hi.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good.
Did you guys know who we were?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what we do?
You preach.
How did you know that?
I don't know. Lucky guess.
Lucky guess? That
My
was a
mom
lucky guess.
told me.
Your mom told you. Did you guys ever hear Pastor Doug preach?
I don't think so.
No? It's very exciting, you know.
Oh, well, I don't know how
He
exciting.
jumps around the platform a lot and yells a lot. I'll tell you that, it'll keep you awake.
So we're supposed to tell you why we're heroes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll let Sister Vicki tell you first about herself.
Well, I'm sitting down. Want to sit
You
down?
too.
You can ask us any questions you want to. First, I'll tell you. Long time ago, before you were born, way back when.
When I wasn't even known.
We
didn't even know
In
you.
fact, before your mom was even married or had kids or anything, when she was still a little girl. In fact, your mom was even littler than you. She was about 4 years old. Can you imagine? That's like 100 years ago or so. Anyway,
She said thank you.
we came to New York.
Where did you live?
I used to live in Louisiana.
You know where Louisiana is?
I think it's Louisiana.
It's way down south.
By
way
Texas.
down by Texas. I came from
You know where it is?
Texas.
Right.
That's a long, long ways
Yeah.
away.
Pastor Doug's from Texas, yeah. He's from a town called Fort Worth, and they used to call it Cowtown because it had cows and cowboys. Way
It's got
back
cows in
when.
the
Oh
ink
yeah,
right now.
he
Yeah.
came from a place with a lot of cowboys to New York. Big difference, huh?
Yeah.
Big difference, yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, you know why he came?
The beach.
Mm-hmm.
That's partly true. You know, my dad felt that the Lord. Do you know who my dad is? My dad is the bishop. He was in here last Sunday, last
Last
Thursday.
Thursday night, when he came in with a bald head.
No,
Oh, I don't think you weren't here last Thursday.
Oh, okay, you know who
Okay.
Bishop is, I bet.
But he came in here last week. Ryan knows who he is, and he's my father. And he felt like the Lord told him to come to New York and start a church. So I was just a kid, a little bit older than you guys, and I came with my dad and the rest of my family. We all moved here together, and my dad started this church. And he started preaching and holding services, and I started with playing the piano and playing the organ and singing and leading in the choir. The church was very small then.
I believe it.
Like,
Yeah, it was
real
small, very small. And I began to grow up more, and I got to where I was getting ready to graduate high school, and I was asking the Lord what He wanted me to do with my life, because I like to play the piano and sing and write songs, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a singer, and I wanted to travel the world and sing and play music and
be a star.
be a star. You know, I wanted to be a Christian. I wanted to sing songs for Jesus. I wanted to sing Christian songs, but I wanted to do music. And I did that quite a bit. I did that a lot for a long time. But then the Lord began to talk to me, and I really felt like the Lord wanted me to be a preacher and to preach and to pastor a church. And it was not an easy decision to make, but I said yes to the Lord. And so I began to preach. I was 17. How old are you, Ryan?
7. No,
Okay.
8.
8.
And you're 8 too?
Yeah.
Okay, you're both 8. So I was a few years older than you guys, and I started to preach, and I was scared. And I was scared to death about preaching. But I started preaching, and the Lord helped me. And so
And here you are today.
here I am today,
Yeah.
still preaching. And so that's how I came to be. And I still play the piano and sing some too.
You know that.
You just answered my question. Do you still play music?
I do.
Hello.
I still play music quite a bit.
He does.
Probably getting too old for it, but I'm still doing it. So
You know, he used to teach Sunday school too.
Really?
yeah.
Every week. Both of us did.
Cool.
We
Yeah.
taught Sunday school every week for many, many years.
What, Super Church?
Like Super Church, except it was on Sunday. Well, Super Church is on Sunday. Yeah, it was like Super Church. Exactly. But it was like this class, except it was on Sunday instead of Thursday.
So the class is this small?
Well, sometimes they were bigger, sometimes smaller.
I had a class. In fact, one time I had a Sunday school class. Your mother was in it. She was a teenager.
And one time she had a class when your Uncle Mark and your
Uncle Brian were in it, and they were 2 years old and 4 years old. Yes, and they acted like little idiots. Oh, did I
She
say
didn't
that?
say that.
Forgive me. No, we had a great time in that class. But I used to teach Sunday school every single week.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes a big class, sometimes a little. One time,
Now
we had a class in the corner of the church where they stored the songbooks in a closet. We didn't have any room, so we just had class in a closet. And your mom used to come to my class. Can you believe that? In a closet, of all things.
Right.
We studied about the Lord, and
now Sister Vicki can tell you how she came to be doing what she does.
well, I came from Louisiana, and one day I came up here on a vacation to visit at a conference, and so I came to a conference in New York City, and the Lord spoke to me while I was there, and He said, "I want you to move to New York and help out in the church here," because the church was very small. And I said, "Are you sure?" So I went back home. I flew back home, and I went back to my job, and I worked and I worked and I worked, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed every day. And I kept saying, "Are you sure, God? You sure? Nah, this is just me, right?" Nope. The Lord confirmed it to me. So a few months later, I moved to New York. And I lived, when I first moved to New York, I lived upstate in Binghamton. You ever heard of that town?
What?
Binghamton? You ever heard of it? You ever heard of Syracuse? No? Okay, well, it's upstate where they have mountains. Not here in the city. It's up where they have mountains and a lot of snow. Well, I'd never seen snow in my life. So I'm happy. It's summertime. Winter comes along. Dun, 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 dun. It snows 3 feet. The pastor's gone. And I'm looking out, what do I do now? And so I got out there. I started shoveling and shoveling and shoveling. I never shoveled so much in my whole life. We had huge driveways, like the size of the church's driveway that went way down to the street on both sides of the house. It was huge. So I learned to shovel snow.
You got a snowblower.
Yes, she should.
They didn't have snow blowers back then. They only had shovels. That's how old I am. Yeah. So I went to work every day, and I kept praying and praying and praying, and I got very, very lonely. So one day we went to camp, and I met this guy over here. He was just young and handsome, and he was old and gray like now. And I was young and blonde and skinny then, and I met him, and we sang together at camp. And we got to know each other. We called a few times, and we wrote some letters, and we got together at church. And then finally one day,
You decided to marry.
that's exactly
How did you figure that out?
He asked me to marry him, so I married him, and now I'm living here. Actually, I moved here before I married him because I was so in love with Long Island. I loved all the people in Long Island so much that I wanted to move here. And so I've been living here, I bet you can't guess how many years.
50.
Not quite. Close.
51. 52.
Other direction.
49. 48.
No.
47. 46. 45. 44. 44. 43. 42. 41. 40. 39. 38.
Ta-da.
39.
39 years I've been living here. Yep.
That's a long
I was
time,
young and
huh?
skinny like this when I came. I was 19 years old, just a teenager, and now I'm not going to tell you how old I am now.
You're probably over 50.
I'm way over 50, buddy.
Probably
Way
over 50.
Yeah, but you know what? The longer I live here, the more I love Long Island. And I like the way Long Islanders talk. And I like the way Long Islanders think. And I like the way the Yankees play ball, too.
Yeah, let's go Mets.
You messed up on that.
I have a Yankee sweatshirt.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
It has
well,
my
I
I have a
too.
Jet sweater.
I have a Yankees one.
It has my last name on the back.
Really? Oh, I don't have that. I don't have that. I just have a sweatshirt that has the
Sign.
whatever the World Series thing was, the symbol on it that year for the Yankees. This was years ago. But
Was it the same as today?
I don't.
Like the N?
No. No. Oh, you mean the logo?
logo.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the same. It was the same.
Like the N.
But anyway, we've been here a long time, and the reason we were here was to do what the Lord asked us to do, and that was to work in this church and preach and teach and love people like you guys.
You know what else He let us do too, because we weren't afraid to do whatever the Lord asked us to do. He opened a door one time. He sent us to St. Louis for 2 years, and Brother Doug was the Dean of Music at Gateway College for 2 years there, and then he brought us back to New York, and then he sent us to Delaware, another state, and for 19 years.
Oh, Delaware's the capital of Virginia. Virginia.
No, close though. It's next door to Virginia. Though.
Oh, right.
Right,
Yeah,
next door to
Delaware.
Virginia.
It's
That's
down
right.
very close to Virginia, though. It's the first state. And Brother Doug, the Lord told him to go down there, and so we would drive every week from New York. We commuted 4 hours to drive to Dover, Delaware, to teach in the school there, and we taught a lot of young people. And now a lot of those young people are preaching and teaching the Word of God. You know, that reminds me of somebody
Are any of them in here today?
here in Bethel.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of them is preaching tonight. In the
Your-
sanctuary, your uncle,
Uncle Robert
Linder,
No.
he's preaching tonight. He was one of Pastor Doug's, Pastor Doug taught him years ago.
Really?
And years ago, he and Brother Harold both.
I knew
Yeah.
your Uncle Harold and your Uncle Robert when they were 7 years old.
Yeah, they used to get in trouble for crawling under the pews. Can you imagine? Yeah.
But the Lord has blessed us and let us go many places to preach and teach. We've gone to the nation of India. You know the country of India?
Yeah, it's all the way in Asia.
That's
Yes,
right. It's
you're
all the way
right.
in Asia. We've gone to China. We've gone
That's
to
in Asia.
Japan,
Japan.
That's
Those are
in
all in
Asia.
Asia. We've gone to
Africa, Kenya.
Africa.
That's a continent.
That's
Yes.
a continent by itself. We've been to Sri Lanka, which is it's a little island off the coast of India.
in the Indian Ocean.
We've been to England to preach.
England is in.
England is actually, we would
Great
call it
Britain.
Europe, but it's actually not part of the European continent, although
It's Great Britain. I
It's
think that's a
Great
continent,
Britain.
isn't it? Or it used to
but
be.
we consider it part of Europe, but they don't consider themselves European per se. But we've been to England and we've been to Holland. You know Holland,
Where the Dutch people are?
where they wear
Oh.
wooden
The
shoes,
Netherlands.
yeah, and they have the
Yeah.
windmills. And the Lord's helped us to go to all those places and preach and sing and
We've
teach
been to Israel.
to Israel,
We've been to Egypt.
Egypt.
We've been to Greece and preached in all those places. In fact, one time in Israel, because it's against the law to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ in public in Israel. Did you know that?
I think it's sometimes in China, if you pray, some guy will like shoot you.
That's right.
That's right. Well, it's like that in Israel. You have to be very careful. One night, there's a little tiny church in Israel, and they
Actually, was in Bethlehem.
was in Bethlehem.
Where
You know
Jesus
where
was born.
Bethlehem is, where Jesus was born. It's actually a town today, a little town. They asked Pastor Doug to preach, so we had to sneak out of our hotel that night and sneak to this little house. And they had the windows all covered with curtains, so you couldn't see the lights on from outside. And we had to all pretend like we were coming for a party or something, or just to visit for dinner. And we all went inside, and all the people got inside, and they closed everything up nice and tight. And Pastor Doug began to preach, and he had a marvelous service there that night.
A lot of them didn't speak English, so I had another brother who was there, not my brother, but a brother in the Lord, who spoke Hebrew, which is what they speak in Israel, in Bethlehem. And so I would preach it in English, and then whatever I said, he would translate it into Hebrew and tell them what I had said.
It was cool. It was really cool. Oh, let me tell you what else happened when we were in Kenya.
And Kenya's Africa.
They had five interpreters at one time.
We had people from 5 different countries come to those meetings. We had pastors from churches from 5 different countries, and each of those 5 different countries spoke a different language, and none of them spoke English. So I had to preach. So what they did is they divided everybody up into 5